Hello there. Greetings, everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show that is dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. A little bit of those other forms going tonight. So I want to welcome you here to Commonalities Compared. This is a show we do every Sunday in which a subscriber of mine, Ben, gives me two rock music commonalities. Could be two guitarists, could be two bass players, could be two drummers, could be two bands, could be two album covers, as long as they have something in common. So the two he's given me tonight are two thrash bands, two of the big four, Metallica being one of them, and Megadeth being the other one. So I will try to give you some of the lowdown on these bands, but I must confess I do not follow thrash metal much. I do have, surprisingly, about 5 Metallica albums, but I think that occurred when I was out yard traveling one day and bought a box full of CDs so I could get the album disc covers for damaged goods on my back here. And I think there was 5 Metallica albums in the box, so that's why I have them. I've tried at times listening to my... I have to admit that I don't mind them too much, but it's just not a type of music I generally listen to. Although I have listened to music from all 4 of the big 4 thrash bands, including Anthrax and Slayer. But tonight's commonality comparison is between Metallica and Megadeth. So, a brief history of the two bands. So, Metallica formed in '81 with Hetfield and Lars Ulrich. So, those are the two main guys. Also, Dave Mustaine was in there as well. So, after a short period of time, Mustaine was kicked out of the band, and he's held a grudge against them ever since. But he did go on to form Megadeth. So, that's their real... kind of their connection family-wise there, I guess. Mustaine appears to have problems with just about everybody he comes into contact with. He also has a problem with the guitar player from Slayer as well. So anyways, so they're both, the commonalities have is they're both thrash bands, obviously. Speed metal bands, if you want to call them that. I tend to think of them as speed metal, but they call themselves thrash, so we'll stick with that. Generally war themes and that kind of stuff. Heavy guitars dominating the band. Fast-paced for most part. I think Megadeth's probably a little bit faster, having listened to them and Metallica. I think they're probably a faster-paced band. I think Metallica may be the bigger of the two, having sold over 125 million albums, whereas Megadeth may be around 50 million. But I think many people kind of think of Megadeth as being the better of the two bands. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. I don't know if that's true. I'm sure Metallica is considered the biggest of the 4 metal thrash bands, mostly because of the amount of record sales. Now, they did go through a period where they became more commercially oriented, and then they came back to the thrash metal stuff later. They are the only one, if I'm wrong, somebody will correct me here. I believe they're the only one of those thrash bands that has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but in their case, they are the only one like that. And yeah, so both of them use the death kind of themes and speed metal type guitar riffing and just basically very heavy metal stuff, right? I think both were influenced by some of the new wave of heavy metal bands early on as well, like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. Well, I don't know if Judas Priest would be qualified in that category, but yeah, some of those bands, they had some influence on them, obviously. And so both bands are still currently out there playing and doing stuff and releasing stuff fairly regularly. I believe both have 11 albums 11 studio albums, that is. And to my knowledge, they both still play that thrash metal sound. So for those of you who like that thrash metal, I think Metallica is considered one of the best at it, and Megadeth as well. I don't have any Megadeth stuff, mostly because I guess because I never bought any, and there was none in that box, and I haven't gone out to buy any individual. Although I thought about a couple times buying one from each of the big four. So, anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Commonalities Compared, featuring both Metallica and Megadeth of the thrash metal bands. If you have, please hit the like and subscribe and notification above my head so you don't miss the next episode. If you wish to make any comments about either band or anything I've said, or add anything to what I've said, or correct anything I may have erroneously said, or just give a little bit more in depth about the two bands, you're more than welcome to do that in the comment section below. As I've said, I'm not an expert on any of these bands. So thanks for showing up, and have yourself a good evening, and we will be back next Sunday for another episode of Commonalities Compared. So have yourself a good evening, and goodbye.